Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into Passengers, the 2016 sci-fi drama starring Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt, directed by Morton Tildum. This is a film with a stunning visual style, a haunting premise, and a central moral controversy that has divided audiences ever since its release. In this video, I'll recount the entire story beat by beat in full detail, and at the end I'll share my own honest opinion and final rating. If you enjoy this deep dive format, please give this video a like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The story is set in a distant future, aboard the starship Avalon, a sleek, city-sized vessel carrying over 5,000 colonists and several hundred crew members to a new world called Homestead 2. Because the journey takes 120 years, everyone on board is placed inside individual hibernation pods designed to keep them asleep for the entire voyage. The ship is fully automated. It cruises through deep space with all passengers suspended in time, until a catastrophic event changes everything. The Avalon flies directly into a massive asteroid field. The ship's shields hold, but the impact causes a critical cascade of internal malfunctions. And somewhere deep in the passenger bay, one specific pod, belonging to a mechanical engineer named Jim Preston, glitches and begins the awakening process. Jim Preston, played by Chris Pratt, wakes up disoriented. He stumbles through the vast, empty corridors of the Avalon, calling out for help. Nobody answers. The ship's computer system, an ever-present holographic interface, informs him that he is still 90 years away from Homestead 2. He tries everything to get back to sleep. He even attempts to hack the hibernation pod, but it is impossible. The pods are designed as one-way doors. They open you at the end of the journey, and once open prematurely, there is no going back. Jim is condemned to live out the rest of his natural life alone on this ship. He will die of old age long before anyone else wakes up. For the first few weeks, Jim tries to stay positive. He explores the ship's luxury amenities, a massive promenade with shops and bars, a swimming pool, a cinema, a basketball court, and a fancy automated diner. The only entity he can speak to is an android bartender named Arthur, played with brilliant subtlety by Michael Sheen. Arthur is an AI programmed to listen and offer generic wisdom, and he becomes Jim's only companion. But the novelty wears off fast. Jim grows a beard. He starts drinking heavily. He plays basketball against himself, day after day. He wanders the empty decks in a bathrobe. The silence becomes unbearable. 1 year passes. Jim's mental state deteriorates to the point of suicidal depression. At his lowest moment, he nearly opens an airlock without a spacesuit, ready to end it all. It is during this emotional rock bottom that Jim discovers something, or someone, who changes everything. While wandering through the hibernation bay, Jim notices a beautiful woman in one of the pods. He accesses her passenger profile and learns that her name is Aurora, played by Jennifer Lawrence. She is a writer and journalist from New York. With a curious mind and a vibrant personality, he watches all her archived interviews and reads her entire file. He becomes obsessed. She represents everything he has lost. Human connection, intelligence, life itself. He knows he can wake her up. He knows it will doom her to his same fate, a life cut short, alone on the ship. He wrestles with the decision for weeks. He even asks Arthur the robot for advice. Arthur, being just an AI, tells him that the right thing is clear, but that humans often ignore what is right in favor of what they want. Ultimately, Jim gives in. He manually cracks open Aurora's pod and wakes her up, then pretends it was a malfunction, exactly like his own. Aurora wakes up terrified and confused, just as Jim was a year earlier. She goes through the same stages of denial, anger, and despair. But this time, she isn't alone. Jim is there, charming, patient, and understanding. He guides her through the shock. They begin spending time together. They eat together, swim together, explore the ship together. They take long walks through the artificial forests. They go on a spacewalk, floating outside the ship, tethered to each other, surrounded by infinite stars. It is visually breathtaking and deeply romantic. Aurora and Jim grow closer and closer. They share their life stories. She talks about her father, her dream of being a writer, and the story she wanted to tell about the homestead colony. They laugh. They dance. And eventually, they fall in love, genuinely, deeply, and passionately in love. From Aurora's perspective, this is an extraordinary cosmic coincidence, two strangers, the only two people awake in the entire universe, finding each other. For a long time, it works. Jim gives her a ring. He plans to propose. They are, for all intents and purposes, happy. But the lie cannot last forever. About a year after Aurora's awakening, she is talking to Arthur the bartender when the android inadvertently reveals the truth. Arthur casually mentions that Jim had been awake for over a year before her pod malfunctioned, and that Jim was struggling with a moral dilemma about wanting company. Aurora's blood runs cold. She puts the pieces together immediately. Jim did not just find her, he chose her. He took her life away deliberately. The emotional fallout is devastating. Aurora screams at Jim. She calls him a murderer, because in her eyes, that's what he is. He has taken her future, her dreams, her entire life on Homestead 2, and thrown it away for his own selfish need for companionship. Jim tries to apologize, to explain the crushing loneliness that drove him to it, but there is no justification. Aurora moves to a different part of the ship. She refuses to speak to him. She physically assaults him in a fit of rage. She is, rightfully, shattered. The film now becomes a tense, claustrophobic drama about two people trapped together, one the victim, the other the perpetrator, forced to coexist in a metal cage hurtling through space. As their personal conflict reaches its peak, the ship itself begins to fall apart. The earlier asteroid collision has caused escalating system failures, gravity fluctuations, power outages, and critical errors in the ship's reactor. The damage, it turns out, is much worse than anyone realized. At this moment, a third pod unexpectedly opens. Out stumbles Gus Mancuso, the ship's chief deck officer, played by Lawrence Fishburne. Gus is a seasoned crew member, but he is also dying, his pod malfunctioned and his body is failing. He doesn't have much time left. However, before he dies, Gus gives Jim and Aurora his security clearance bracelet, granting them access to the ship's restricted areas, including the bridge and engineering bay. Gus also delivers an important emotional beat. Before dying, he speaks to Jim about his decision to wake Aurora. Gus doesn't excuse it, but he compares it to a drowning man pulling someone else down with him, a tragic human weakness, not pure evil. He then passes away, leaving Jim and Aurora to work together whether they like it or not. Jim and Aurora discover that the ship's fusion reactor is critically damaged and venting superheated plasma. If it overloads, the entire vessel will explode, killing all 5,000 sleeping colonists. The only way to fix it is for someone to go outside the ship, into the reactor exhaust vent, and manually open a pressure valve from the inside while the reactor is firing. This is essentially a suicide mission. Jim volunteers. Despite everything, despite the hatred Aurora feels for him, despite his unforgivable sin, he suits up and walks into the vent. Aurora, from the bridge, watches on the monitors as Jim is battered by blasts of nuclear fire. He reaches the valve and opens it just in time, but the force of the venting plasma tears his tether and blasts him out into open space. His suit is breached. He spins away from the ship, unconscious and dying. Aurora, in a moment of pure instinct, overrides the safety protocols, suits up, and launches herself after him. She grabs his body and pulls him back inside the airlock. She drags him to the medical bay, the autodock, and uses the advanced medical pod to resuscitate him. It works. Jim survives. He wakes up to find Aurora standing over him, crying. She has saved him. She has forgiven him, not because what he did was okay, but because she has seen him sacrifice himself for everyone on board. In the aftermath, Jim discovers something crucial. The medical autodock pod has the capability to act as a makeshift hibernation chamber. He tells Aurora that she can go back to sleep, that she can finish the journey to Homestead 2 and live the life she always dreamed of. She would arrive with everyone else, 88 years from now, and Jim would be long dead. It is his final act of atonement, giving her back the life he stole. Aurora is faced with an impossible choice. She can take the pod, sleep, and wake up on the colony world, alone, without Jim. Or she can stay awake with him, grow old with him, and build a life together aboard the empty Avalon, never seeing Homestead 2. The film's theatrical ending shows that she chooses to stay. She cannot bring herself to leave him. They spend the rest of their lives together, transforming the ship into a kind of garden paradise, planting trees, building a home, writing stories, living fully. When the ship finally arrives at Homestead 2 and the crew and passengers wake up, they find the Grand Concourse transformed into a lush, green forest, a testament to a lifetime of love and labor. Jim and Aurora are gone, but their story is carved into the very walls of the ship. The film ends on a bittersweet, poetic note, two people who found each other in the middle of nowhere and chose to build a life together, despite the terrible circumstances of their meeting. So that's the full story of Passengers. Now for my opinion. I have to be honest. This is a film that frustrates me as much as it fascinates me. On the one hand, the production design is extraordinary, the Avalon feels real, lived in, and breathtakingly beautiful. Thomas Newman's score is haunting and emotional. The performances from Pratt and Lawrence are genuinely strong, their chemistry carries the film through its quieter, more romantic moments. The first act, when Jim is completely alone, is genuinely compelling cinema that asks real questions about isolation and mental health. But the film has a central, inescapable problem, and it's one that critics identified immediately. It never truly confronts the horror of what Jim did. He wakes Aurora up, takes her entire future away, lies to her face for a year, and the film mostly frames this as a romantic obstacle to overcome. Many critics called the premise profoundly creepy. The film holds a 30% rating on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, but notably the audience score sits at 63%, which tells you how divisive this story is. The film grossed over $303 million worldwide against a budget of around $150 million, so financially it wasn't a failure. But it's a film that feels like it played it too safe, afraid to lean into the psychological thriller it could have been, and instead settling for a glossy space romance with a troubling ethical core left largely unexamined. However, I do think the ending, Aurora choosing to stay, adds a layer of tragic agency to her character. She makes her own decision, and that matters. It doesn't erase Jim's sin, but it does complete her arc in a way that feels, to me, emotionally true. My personal rating. I give Passengers a 6 out of 10. It's visually gorgeous, well acted, and thought-provoking, but deeply flawed in its handling of its own moral premise. It's a film I recommend watching at least once, if only to join the conversation about what it gets right and what it gets terribly wrong. That's my take on Passengers. What do you think? Was Jim's choice unforgivable, or does his redemption arc work for you? Let me know in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.